Hey, hope that woke you up. Dads, I bet you're wondering how soon is too soon for your child to start running? And when is an appropriate age for them to begin the habit of getting out there? I hear that question all the time, and so we're going to talk about it a little bit today. Welcome. This is the Run With My Son show. I'm Gideon Newell, and we are a bunch of dads who are determined not to let the headwinds of life push us off that path to a lifelong, heart-to-heart relationship with our sons. And we do that through something we call runversations, which are these, deliberate conversations we have one-on-one with our children while we're out and about, getting some exercise, some fitness together, and really just bonding. So, the question that I asked there a moment ago, how soon, is too soon? And it comes from a pretty familiar place for me. We have a family of runners in my household. My wife and I each run, and the kids, do their kids' fun run from year to year. And we've got all kinds of cousins who participate and do the same thing, so they love doing that. And your kids love to run too, I know that. But the question is, how soon, excuse me, is the right time for them to begin routinely running, getting out there and, doing something with an end goal in mind, be it a race or just a distance or a time, goal that they've got in their own head. There is such thing as too soon. You don't want to push somebody to the point where they dislike the sport. And I got a story about that from my childhood that I'll share a little bit later here. But before I get too deep into it, let me throw up on screen here this week's question of the day, just to warm you up. We were wondering in my family here the other day, as I was talking with my three sons, what are they most excited about giving this Christmas season? We celebrate Christmas in my household, and so they're looking forward to the things they're going to give. And I had each of them tell me what of the different gifts that they've pulled together, created, bought, whatever, wrapped. What are they most excited to give to somebody else? And so I ask you the same thing. Go ahead and type in the comments below what you're most excited to be giving, what you can't wait to see them rip open and tear open, and you want to see the expression on their face. For me, it would certainly be, the gift that I got from my wife, which I can't go into too much detail here because she occasionally watches the show, and I don't want to spoil things before Monday. But I'm looking forward to seeing her learn about the different excursion, the excursion, the little memory building trip I've got sort of planned for us. I think she's going to love it. But let us know if you're not shy and you want to type it in there. Let us know what you're most excited about giving this holiday season, and I'll leave that up on screen for a little bit as I go ahead and dive into the actual content. Some pointers on how you can detect when your child is ready to begin running, and then how you can go ahead and approach that, and what's the best way to begin. So, let me just give you it straight up. In my honest opinion, I think any time after kindergarten is a good time, and I have spoken to lots of parents who started sooner, age 3. I was hearing from a few parents, and other parents, might want to give it a little bit longer until, age 9 or so, and really, there's no bad time to start, and I just happen to like after kindergarten because they'll have a purpose. Their focus will be there, so that they'll at least know that they're trying to get from A to B. Whereas a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, might just 5 steps in forget what they're doing, and so that's my little smile. But I wanted to share what one dad was telling me. And his son began, as he did, right around age 9. So that's interesting. I found that interesting because my own son at age 9 was when he decided to kind of join me in my runs. And it was a good starting point because at that age, he had some peers who were starting to get into the sport. A lot of our schools these days have got these after-school running clubs and programs, and they often don't even begin until this age, but even for those who've had running clubs, since an earlier age, by age 9 or so, they've suddenly got some peers who are into different sports, and that might be the prompt. That might be what gets their attention. Oh, gee, Jimmy told me he did this race this weekend. I wonder what that was like. It'd be kind of fun to go to one of those. So that is one of the the things that I've written here is a good thing to look for, and that is their interest. You don't want to, drag them to the sport. You want them to come to the sport because it's something inward. And the sorts of things you might see from them is interest in your own runs. I remember last year coming back into the house from a run around the neighborhood, and the kids would ask me, "How was your run, Daddy?" Kind of parroting, I think, possibly what Mommy would ask when I'd come home, but they meant it, and sometimes even absent, her asking the question, the kids would ask, "How was your run?" And so that was an opportunity for me to tell them what my run was like. Oh, it was great. I got to see, a couple of rabbits and a deer even. Or it was pretty good. It was a little cold out there. It was windy, and just sharing a little bit of the experience, a few words, to paint a picture in their head and to bring them there mentally. Another sign you can look for is if they actually ask you if they can come. Can I come? Now that one in my household didn't start until I took my oldest son with me on our first one-on-one runs. But you can bet the very next week his little brothers were wondering if they could come on a run too. And it's as much motivated by the desire to be out running as it is to be, where the fun is. FOMO, fear of missing out. They want to be with Dad just like, their brothers were. So that's a sign to look for when they actually ask if they can come. Another sign is if they talk about friends at school who are doing this, or like I said, Jimmy did a race. I wonder what that would be like. I'd like to run in a race someday. Well, there you go. I mean, you don't run in a race unless you prepare and do a little running first. So let's go around the neighborhood. Let's do a little run and see what you think. And fourth is if they tell other people about you and your running habit. My daddy's a runner. He goes on runs on Saturday. So that much enthusiasm that he remembers it and he explains it to people. He puts it in his little schoolwork or draws a picture of it. That's an indicator that it's in his head what you do, and maybe it's a good time to invite him along. So the second thing I want to stress and point out is that you always want to ask them and get their buy-in. You don't want to just jump the gun and commit them to a race, a fun run, or sign them up for the club or whatever. That can be successful, but it can also backfire. In my own case, running did not begin with me until I got a letter in the mail one summer in between middle school and high school from my middle school gym teacher. Actually, it was addressed to my parents, and it was encouraging them to enroll me in the high school cross-country running club, which had, that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was never an athlete of any kind, but my gym teacher saw some potential and pointed it out to my parents, and so it was really their impetus that got me signed up. And in this instance, it actually was a good one, but that could easily have gone the other way. And for that, I'll share a story from much earlier in my childhood, elementary school soccer, where we would run around on the soccer field all morning long, exhausted. Our particular soccer field was littered with goose turds because every Canadian goose in Canada, I feel, decided to roost, in the springtime at our soccer fields. And so we'd be frequently chasing them off, but always stepping in it. So I had a lot of reasons to dislike soccer. I don't think I had any friends who were on the team with me either, come to think of it. But I don't even think I finished through the season. I was one of those, I don't like this. I remember very vividly from play to play, the coach blowing his whistle and telling me one thing. You got to keep moving with the ball. You got to keep... why aren't you in your position? This is your position. You're supposed to stay here. So the very next play, I stood there, planted with my feet, didn't move at all. And he was equally frustrated by that. Why didn't you move around? I wasn't understanding things. I was brought to the sport. I wasn't myself motivated to go to the sport. So that was, an example of doing it the wrong way, perhaps. But you dads, you're going to do it the right way. You're going to wait until you see some interest, and you're going to nurture that. And to that point, number 3, it's super important the way you approach this. You are a parent first and a coach second. So when you're out there doing these runs, especially these introductory runs, you don't want to push and be too aggressive. Maybe this doesn't seem ambitious enough to you. We're only going a mile. Come on, let's do more. But keep in mind, especially if they're brand new, that this is pretty ambitious to them. What, could be a quick 1 mile for you might feel like 5 miles to him. And it's not only because he's inexperienced and not conditioned the way you are, but just mechanically, he's a smaller person. He's got shorter legs. He needs to turn that gear more rotations in order to get to the same mileage that you get with 2 or 3 strides. So there's just a lot of reasons why let's take it nice and slow. And it is perfectly normal for kids, right up through teenage years, to do their running in run, walk, jog a little, walk a little. That is perfectly acceptable, and you should encourage any of that. And you can call that running. I know I beat myself up on the back, when I do a run and I'm not able to complete the whole thing without stopping for a walk. I have to walk up the hill and then complete the run. At the beginning of a season, if I haven't been out there for months and months through the winter or something, that might happen a few times, and I beat myself up. But we can't apply that same sort of standard for our kids. We have to encourage every attempt, even if it's broken up by lots of walks. Wow, you did an awesome job. That was a great run we had. Use that sort of language when it's over with, because your goal is not to get him 5 miles or to get him faster or to get him, prepared to come home with a trophy. Your goal is to build the lifelong love for the sport, for the activity. So pace it as far, whatever is comfortable for him, for her, your child, whoever you're taking out there, and remember to listen to their body. It actually wouldn't be a bad idea, even before engaging in this sort of activity, to also perhaps talk to their pediatrician. If your child has got any kind of history of troubles, asthma or ankle, knee, feet troubles, heart conditions, by all means, you want to, take the advice and find out what sort of things to watch for, excessive fatigue and these different things. And I don't pretend to be a medical expert, so but incorporate that in your planning process, and build your workout plans, around that. All right, wanted to share another story from a mom who spoke this week about her 2 kids. And ages, and a daughter age 4 who ran 3 races this past summer, and a son who's 8 who does not only individual races but also school races. They have an after-school club, and those are a great place to start too. Probably the biggest motivator, the biggest influencer in your child's budding, running career is going to be that first coach. Who often is going to be you, Dad. You're going to be out there running with him, so keep that in mind. But even in the school or after school setting, that coach is an important thing, an important influencer. And there are a lot of great programs out there, locally and nationwide. We're starting at our elementary school in April an after school running club. They haven't had one, but it's modeled after the Rod Dixon Kids Marathon. And these are great. The kids actually run a marathon, but they do it cumulatively. So over like an 8 to 10 week span, they do 2 to 3 miles a week, and it sort of adds up. And then it culminates in the final mile, where they actually, all gather together on the high school track or some, special place. And they do that last measured mile, and there's a big party and a celebration and ribbons or medals afterward, but they've completed a full marathon when you tally it all together. That's a cool program. The 100-mile club is another one. That's one where kids accumulate 100 miles over the course of the school year. I love that. And maybe you've heard of Girls on the Run, which is an after-school program for girls where they incorporate fitness, but they also have other lessons and workshops and such, and they just talk a bunch of life lesson kind of things too, relationships and confidence building and that sort of thing. And they do a 5K non-competitive race together, I think every 3 months, every quarter or something like that. So if that's something that might interest your daughter. I don't know how it compares to, say, Girl Scouts or anything. Don't have any girls in our household. We hit the jackpot with 3 boys. But those are some other, sort of clubs you can look into, or perhaps even start your own after-school activity. Talk to, your elementary school principal, or maybe it's the gym teacher that might be the person to coordinate with, and see if you can get something off the ground. Because that's what's going to give them some motivation. It's not so much the activity, it's the camaraderie. If their friends are doing it with them, if it's a week after week club thing where I get to run with my buddies, that's going to have so much more lasting interest for them. Which also kind of reminds me, let me take this down for a second, the question of the day. If you are looking to start a habit together of running with your son, if you're the coach and you guys are going to go do something, we go on Saturday mornings in my household, my son and I, and you have no idea where to start. You're both couch potatoes and you want to be 5K road race runners. I gotta recommend this training plan we've got, this couch to 5K training plan for kids. It actually is designed with kids in mind. So that, in, I think it's 8 to 10 weeks, you'll be ready. No matter what fitness level you start with, you'll be able to compete in a 5K road race together. So all the workouts you need, all the distances, and when the walk breaks and the running breaks and how many minutes to go, it's all in that guide. It's great when it's free. You can get it on our website, or if you're watching this video on Facebook, you can just type right in the comments, training plan, and we'll send it straight to you. But if you're not watching on Facebook, then by all means, go to our website and grab it up. It's a good resource. Back to this screen here. Another thing to keep in mind, if they're hesitant, if they're not certain, if they kind of want to do it but they're a little bit nervous, you don't need a ton of equipment. A good pair of sneakers is probably fine for your first few days. You're not going to go very far. Eventually, you might want to get them in some, actual nicer sneakers or whatever. But the most important thing is to give it a try. You never know until you do. So it might turn out to be your best sport. As a kid, I was not very fast. When I did when I did sign up for that high school cross-country team, I was terrible. And I could have let that disappointment, drag me to a place where I didn't want to follow through. But I had some great coaches. I should tag them here in the video. Coach Andy Vergovern and Coach Jim Morse, were very influential, and they both emphasized not necessarily the result, but the effort and week after week improvement. Coach Andy in particular was just stat crazy. We got, volumes of statistical analysis week after week on, how much improvement we had on this leg and this race, and you know what, you might be slow in short distances, but I learned that being slow in short races isn't the same thing as being slow in long races, because many people can't run long races. Just the fact that you can continue for miles and miles and miles and miles when others fall short. The tortoise and the hare story was a great one to share with my kids a couple weeks ago. And it's the principle, of being able to stick with something and see it through. So that's what your end goal is, dads. You're not trying to, bring home a trophy. You're trying to bring home a lifelong love for a sport that's going to have lasting benefits for their health and for their happiness and for your relationship together. If you're out there doing, as we recommend, weekly one-on-one time with your son, and it need not be out there running. It could be, whatever activity gets you guys one-on-one time together without the siblings, without mommy, that you can have those routine conversations that he can begin to rely on it. He knows that it's going to be there next week, and it's going to be there the following week and the following week. You build a habit around it. That's where your relationship really is going to see its turnaround. You're going to have those deep conversations that we talk about. All right, and one more thing I'll just offer and remind you, if you're unaware, we've got a Facebook group for dads who run, so you need not feel like you're doing this alone. If you are looking for here's some trainings or some sharing your inspirational moments. Hey, me and my son went and we did, this much distance this weekend. Dads are sharing their struggles, they're sharing their victories, and trading some inspiration back and forth. It's a great group. If you're on Facebook, again, watching this video, you need only type the word group in the comments, and we'll send you the link to that. Otherwise, it's the URL written there, facebook.com/groups/dads who run. All right, well, dads, let me encourage you to get out there this week. Take your father-son team to victory. I will not be live a week from today. I'm going to take a little bit of a vacation here at the end of December as I record this now, December 2017. But I might drop some pre-recorded content on you. In fact, I almost certainly will. So we'll still have something for you. It just won't be a live show next Friday. And then in 2018, we'll resume right up again in the first Friday and every Friday thereafter in 2018. We go live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And yeah, we'd love to have you come watch. All right, well, thanks again, dads. Remember, take your father-son team to victory this week. Get out there, get that one-on-one time. That's where it all starts. And in the meantime, enjoy. Have yourselves a merry little Christmas if you celebrate it like we do, or a happy holiday, or even just a great week. And I look forward to seeing you at the end of it. Thanks. Hey, I hope you got some terrific value from that video. If you did, I invite you to hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all of our new videos. You're also welcome to watch one of our popular back episodes, and you can always visit our website, runwithmyson.com, for a free Couch to 5K training plan that you can run together with your son.